and then we will get going in 3, 2, 1, go. Hello everyone, this is Railcoon with Prodigy alongside for IC Cup Television. Welcome to the White Raw Bomber show match. Both players are playing here on the Korean server with zero latency issues, so I'm really excited to see this. Of course, it's always just much more comfortable for players when they don't have to deal with that. We can see that Bomber is going to be the green Terran on the left side of GSL dual site. His opponent is going to be the one, the only White Raw as the red Protoss on the right-hand corner. And this is just super exciting. Want to give another quick shout out to nationvoice.com. They are sponsoring giveaways of nice Dualtronics headsets and two 15-slot Ventrilo servers. So if you do want to participate in that, you have until Monday night to like both of the Nation Voice Facebook and the IC Cup TV Facebook. Both of those are just facebook.com/ICCupTV and /Nation Voice. And follow both of those on Twitter as well, twitter.com/nationvoice and twitter.com/ICCupTV. We'll be choosing 4 people to get one of each, and that will be announced Tuesday night during the IC Cup map series. So you've got all weekend. If you're watching this from the VODs, you still have a chance. If it's not Monday night already, you're just getting back from MLG, go ahead and do that. And we don't see any crazy proxies yet, so we're here on dual site. And if you guys haven't seen this yet from the GSL, it's quite an interesting map. Of course, one of the main things people always bring up are the watchtowers that are actually miniature warp gates.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting feature. I'm not 100% sure how they did that, but there is definitely some data editor trickery in there. But I myself haven't been able to figure out quite yet. I'm sure I'll figure it out someday. So White Raw's probe right now going to make its way into the base of Bomber to do a little bit of harassment. He's going to get that SCV down to about 20 HP before that SCV moves off to do a little bit of scouting, and Bomber's just going to continue on with his standard opening. Meanwhile, back at the base of White Raw is going to be taking a pretty early second gas, as well as the cybernetics core on the way. So really standard openings from both of these players so far. Probe continuing to be annoying, but it will be driven out by this Marine here momentarily.
Yeah, just a couple more shots from this Marine. Oh, nice juke by White Raw. Just going to keep it alive a little bit longer. It's just one of those things to be super annoying with your probe. It forces your opponent to have to pay more attention, maybe exert a couple more actions in the early game. And sometimes if you are able to keep that alive long enough, you can see something really crucial going down, like a factory. But it looks like Bomber is actually saving up for a command center here on dual site. This is a relatively small map, so this is a pretty risky play by him. Especially given the fact that he's playing White Raw, the player who's known for just randomly 5-gating you at any point in a best of 5, just to prove that he can. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, if White Raw is just going to stay standard, or if he is going to open up with something crazy like that. No, he's going to go for the robotics facility. So 1-gate robo from him. And with this quick command center opening from Bomber, that is going to be relatively safe.
Yeah, and even if Bomber wasn't doing something that involves a really quick expansion, 1-gate robo still is a reasonably safe build, as you do get that observer out pretty quickly to see what the Terran player is doing, as the Terran player will have a bunch of Marines out, like we do see Bomber has right now, to block any potential scouts from actually making their way up the ramp for you to get any information. So the 1-gate robo, definitely a nice choice here by White Raw to open up this series. Wants to get a good read on what Bomber likes to do on a 2-player map like this. He's got a Stalker also positioned here out in the natural, and that will be able to spot the command center from moving out if it does manage to lift off right away. We'll find out in just a second here. No, he will be making the orbital command in his base. It's kind of a stylistic thing. Some players do like to lift the command center into the natural expansion and then immediately transfer SCVs. Some players like to build the orbital in their main and wait until they have a few more forces built up before moving out.
Yes, we see probe poking out for White Raw. He actually has it queued up to several of the expansions on the map. He hasn't seen a command center yet. So interesting decision by him. Let's see if he keeps checking around the map just to make sure that Bomber hasn't gotten sneaky on him. Sent out an SCV when he wasn't paying attention and has a command center somewhere. That's actually a pretty good decision, and it says that he actually knows Bomber a decent amount. Because one of the things we saw consistently from StarTale players during the Startail Invitational was hidden expansions. Oh my god, no, White Raw's going for the hidden expansion.
Wow.
As Bomber sends his down, he does spot the orbital command and then he cancels it. Interesting decision, but he had a Nexus up here for just a few seconds and then, has decided against it. Did he see that probe there? Did he actually...
I didn't manage to catch it in time, but White Raw's got this robotics bay on the way right now, and he's only going to be on one base, so what I'm wondering is White Raw actually going to try and hit a one-base Colossus?
Oh my god!
Do a bunch of damage? No, he actually is going to go for this gold expansion again. I think his observer or something like that managed to see that SCV coming out. SCV's got to get picked off by the Stalker. The Nexus gets canceled again. White Raw does not want to let Bomber catch wind of this. Did that SCV see it that time?
Yeah, he saw the probe that time, but this time Bomber is moving across the map. As you can see, he's going pretty aggressive with his multiple barracks here. You can see he has stim pack already, no concussive shells, and White Raw's still on just zealots and sentries. He's got a good amount of energy on these sentries, so Bomber will have to be careful of these force fields, but you can see White Raw was scared off into producing his Nexus at his normal natural. Some great scouting by Bomber, checking around with his SCV just to make sure. And now there's a Marine checking the other expansions as well. He really wants to make sure that White Raw can't hide anything on him. And given the fact that we've seen his teammates like to hide expansions a lot, that's not that surprising. Colossus count's getting up there at the same time. Second one's about to pop up. So White Raw's got some presence on the map now as well. And we should see these two players starting to get into miniature engagements coming up. Uh-oh! Bomber catching White Raw in the center of the field, focusing down the Colossus. That was actually really well done. White Raw caught completely off guard. He's going to lose almost this entire gateway force and be pushed back right back into his natural. White Raw was dropping a second Nexus at the same time, so he doesn't have that many more units on the way. But Bomber is backing off, expecting that there will be more units. So White Raw dodging a bullet, and that Bomber isn't pushing straight into his natural.
Yeah, and at this point, Bomber is confident with the advantage that he has secured, or at least the advantage that he thought he has secured. After picking off a Colossus and a ton of early units this early in the game, he knows that White Raw is not really going to be aggressive for a little while, so he has an opportunity to start macroing up, and this will allow him to get that Viking count up pretty high before the next engagement actually takes place. And right now there's only one Colossus on the field. Second Colossus is on the way, as well as extended thermal lances, but there's going to be a good number of Vikings out by the time White Raw hits anything that might be considered a critical mass, and that will cause some problems. However, White Raw will have this third base where he might be able to throw it on something like a second robotics facility for him to pump out some extra Colossus or switch out into a different tech path. Bomber's also going to be sending out a scouting factory right now to get a little bit of information. White Raw immediately pulls his army back so that he can try and deny some of that information before that factory actually makes it in there. And it looks like Bomber might be moving out once again. He's sold all of his bunkers. He's moving out onto the map right now with the observer right in tail. He's got another observer here as well. And if we just take a look at the army tab right now, we do see that, White Raw is pretty far behind.
Yeah, you can see, with this early third base by White Raw, his army is pretty significantly behind. He's starting to pull ahead in the worker count, but that hasn't translated into extra units yet. He's only just now dropping some extra gateways, bringing himself up to a total of 5. No extra robotics anywhere, no Stargate. So it is going to be quite a while until his army is quite fearsome because of this third base. And Bomber is working on getting his own third base up on the field. If Bomber can move forward, do a little bit of pressure, he should be just fine, seeing as the third base for a Terran player is pretty much a very large breaking point in macro for Terran. So he'll really be able to kick his production into high gear once that's complete. And White Raw took a long time to saturate this base. He didn't want to transfer probes and risk getting them seen. So he hasn't really taken full advantage of that until recently as well. So even though he got that really quick third base, White Raw isn't getting the full advantage like you might expect to see.
Yeah, so Bomber, still interestingly enough, despite his very adamant scouting in the earlier stages of the game, hasn't actually spotted this third base out of White Raw. But the third base timing of his own is actually pretty good, so he will be able to stay on even footing economically. And you could even argue a little bit farther ahead thanks to Mules, and after that early battle, he does have a bit of a supply lead right now. The supplies are 151 for Bomber and only 124 for White Raw, who's moving out a bunch of Stalkers on one side of the map, and the rest of his Colossus and Sentries on the other side. Needs to be a little bit careful, as these Stalkers don't have Blink. If they get caught, they will go down pretty quickly, thanks to the Concussive Shells upgrade, but White Raw is able to pull them back in time as he... he actually didn't take control of that tower there, but he does have Observers positioned so that he can react in time. Now he's going to collect his forces and get them all back together so that he does have the maximum firepower in the event that an engagement occurs, and Bomber's just going to continue bouncing around the center of the map as he is controlling both of the watchtowers. However, these observers are just giving White Raw so much information about where Bomber is moving. He's able to react to pretty much anything, and one of these observers kind of flies away and gets off the follow as White Raw moves to defend his third, but he will be able to correct that in time before anything really drastic actually takes place.
Yeah, and if you check Bomber's base, he actually has a pretty ridiculous number of barracks at this point. He's pulling actually farther ahead in the army count, as he's up now 30 supply instead of 20 once he got that third base up. And he's getting pretty close to maxed. If you look at the army here of White Raw, he's got quite a few Colossus, but not a whole lot of Stalkers. So he's going to have an issue shooting out this many Vikings before he takes heavy losses. We've got 3 Ghosts on the way from Bomber as well. So even if he does not completely dominate White Raw here, he'll be able to follow up with some good EMPs. So it looks like this is going to be the really big engagement. Vikings trying to poke in. They do get 1 Colossus. Some great force fields from White Raw keep most of the bio at bay, but the Vikings doing a good job so far. Another one looks like it's going to go down. Some more great force fields, but all the Stalkers of White Raw are busy trying to keep these Vikings out of his face, but it's just not working. The Colossus are taking a bunch of damage, and once he's unable to force field anymore with the last of the sentries going down, the Marauders are going to force themselves forward, take out the rest of these units. Bomber doing really well here, just softening up his opponent with the Vikings and managing to kill all the sentries at the same time. White Raw really just doesn't have anything to hold off Bomber, as his forces are still continuing to pile up in the center. He will be able to reinforce this with quite a lot of units. And that's going to be GG from White Raw.
Yeah, that early battle that White Raw lost so many really, really crucial units at that stage of the game made White Raw go on such a heavy defensive that he really just couldn't keep up with Bomber. Bomber was essentially free to do whatever he wanted, and White Raw just kind of was bouncing between his natural and third expansion, trying to keep them alive while he tried to get a big enough ball to actually fight off Bomber, but just wasn't able to get enough force